Thanks for joining us this morning. And my name is Bob Brocker. I'm the founder and president of AgeWise Colorado. And I want to point out Barbara Boyer, who is our executive, who just slept away from her chair, who's our executive director. And I'll give a really short introduction to our panelists for today. We're going to be talking about the fact that people have experienced hearing or vision loss in themselves or a loved one, and here are some free resources that can help with that. And our panelists are Katie Bishop of Relay Colorado, Shirley Propey of Audio Information Network, and Laurie Sporing of Colorado Talking Book Library. And Katie, do you want to say anything about the folks that you have helping?
Sure. Also joining our Relay Colorado team are my supervisor, Christine Shipley. She is the T-Mobile Accessibility Relationship Manager. And then we have some accessibility individuals with our American Sign Language interpreters, as well as the captionist for the captioning today.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to remind everyone that if you have questions during the presentations, you can, if you put them in the chat or wait until the end of the presentation. We'll have 3 different presentations this morning from these 3 folks. And one other thing I would like to remind our panelists about the use of acronyms, because most people don't know what those acronyms are. So just be careful about that. And then now I'm going to share my screen here for a moment and just give you just a little background about AgeWise Colorado and who we are. And so here are the links to the websites of each of the 3 panelists who are speaking this morning. So we are the premier, this is aspirational, of course, the premier resource hub for aging Coloradans and their families to help people age well and age wisely. We are targeting people over the age of 40 in Colorado. So we have these folks in this sandwich generation, who some of you are in that generation. And then we have the folks who are the older adults in Colorado. So the total number is about 2.7 million people in Colorado. The other thing that I always like to point this out, because not a lot of people realize this, but in Colorado in the year 2030, there will be more people over 65 than under the age of 18. Which has some pretty significant implications for our population going forward. A little more about what we are. We focus on many different aspects of the aging process. Today we're talking about hearing and vision, which is not just for people in the older adult population, but for people in every aspect of the population. We've had webinars like this in the recent past to talk about differences between Medicare and Medicaid, which is something a lot of people don't understand. Healthcare providers, housing, things that help people age in place. We will be diving into technologies much more in the future. We've had a webinar on end-of-life planning and financial planning and estate planning and so on. So this is not a complete list, but it's a pretty good representation. And who do we serve? Well, as mentioned earlier, older Coloradans and adult children of older Coloradans, but also our service providers who are listed on our website and employers. If you think about an organization that has employees in that sandwich generation, AgeWise is a really good resource for them when they need it. And also Colorado businesses, supporting a social benefit for all Coloradans. And once again, here is the websites for each of the groups. So now I'm going to introduce our first panelist, and then I'll introduce the other two as their time comes up. Katie Bishop is the outreach specialist with Relay Colorado, a role she has been in now for 5 years. She's worked in the field of hearing loss since 2004 as an educational interpreter and has a 6-year-old son with a hearing loss. Katie believes in the importance of communication access and is proud to be a part of the Relay Colorado team to share information about the services they provide. Katie is a Colorado native, and one of 43%, something like that, and loves spending time outdoors with her family and friends. So Katie, I will close this sharing here as soon as I can move this around and turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Yes, I am Katie Bishop, Relay Colorado outreach specialist, as Bob had said. And today I will share some of the information about our services and kind of the relationship of how it works. We have several services offered. I will focus on mainly 3 of them. And then if you have any questions, just let me know. I'll go ahead and share my slide. Okay. Are you able to see this okay?
No.
Okay, 1 second. Something happened. It doesn't like me to try and share that way. That's okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and do it this way. Are you able to see now?
Yes, that works.
Okay, very good. So here I will start with the relationship between the Colorado Public Utilities Commission, T-Mobile Accessibility, and Relay Colorado. Our services through Relay Colorado are provided by T-Mobile Accessibility under contract with the CPUC, and they are funded by a surcharge established by the CPUC. So you can see the connectivity through the image here.
So does that, Katie, does that surcharge show up on our on our phone bill? Or...
Correct. Correct. So here are a list of our different services that we provide, all of which are no cost. Today, again, I will be focusing on speech-to-speech, relay conference captioning, and our analog caption telephone. If you would like to learn more about these services, you can always visit our website at relaycolorado.com and be able to learn more in detail about each of these services and how to access them and the different numbers provided to be able to connect. I'll start out by telling you a little bit about Relay Colorado service. It is a public service and was established in 1989 for individuals who have a hearing loss or a speech need, and per legislation, it was required under the ADA under Title IV. Calls are completely confidential and there are no restrictions to the length of the call that you can make. It's available 24/7, 365 days of the year. So it's all phone accessibility for individuals with a hearing loss or a speech need. So to transition to our speech-to-speech service, this service allows individuals who have a speech need to voice their conversation themselves, and there is a trained relay operator who will repeat or voice over, if you will, the words of the customer to clarify the call. You can simply dial 711 to connect with speech-to-speech, or there is also a specialized number that you can connect. No special equipment is required. So here are some features and those numbers I talked about. So this number here is the specific number if you want to connect right with speech to speech, or you can dial 711 and tell them the specific service that you would like to use. In this case, we're talking about speech to speech. So customers, they can also set up a profile for themselves, and which you can add notes to your specific call. So then the trained operator would be able to read that beforehand and have some prep. So the clarification of the call would be smoother and more accurate. Then here it talks about a shortcut. So when using a wireless device, through T-Mobile accessibility, you can press star 787 and it'll connect automatically to speech. So oftentimes if somebody has a stroke or maybe a trach or other speech needs such as a stutter, this is where this service may be useful. So here is Relay Conference captioning. I'm going to share my screen quick with this one to show you how it works if you're not connected already. We have a captionist who is on today. And let me stop share. Oh, are you able to see that? Did I bring that up and over?
Yes,
oh, very good. Can you tell I'm not as tech savvy as I would like to be? So yeah. This shows that every word that is spoken is transcribed, and you can see the different lines. When you're talking, a lot of times it's nice to introduce yourself so the captionist can know that it's changing, and also the user. Katie here, and then being able to say my piece, and then if it transitions to a new person, Bob here, to be able to show that turn taking for ease of following the transcripts. This is again a no-cost service for those who work and live in Colorado. They're made available, as you saw, in a separate browser on a multi-party call. So when the customer is in a remote location like we are today, then they would just go to the specialized link after they register, and they can open it on the same screen. Right now I have dual screen, so I'm able to put my captions up on my second monitor and then have my Zoom call. If you prefer, you can have them both side to side. You would just have to make adjustments accordingly to the browser of how you use that. Here are some benefits. It's live captioning. And so corrections are able to be made, and it's that real time. Has full access to the meeting information for the individual customer who needs it. It's available anywhere, anytime. It's easy and it works. And the service is paid for by Relay Colorado, and therefore is no cost to the customer. And when you sign up, I can also go in more detail about how to register in another webinar. We have those available, but you are able to decide how you save and share that transcript information, such as today, you would be able to save the transcript and then go back and review the notes if need be. So here is the third service to touch on today. Right now, this is the caption telephone. So caption telephone, that's the acronym that we are steering clear of. CapTel, caption telephone is what it means. And this is analog only, so it plugs directly into a landline. CapTel, it works like any other phone, in addition to having the captions of the conversation of the other party on the line. So it shows every word that the other person is saying, so that the customer using it with a hearing loss is able to hear what they can hear, but they read what they miss. Okay, so that was kind of the skinny of several of our no-cost services. Here's some additional information. We do have a team email. If any questions come up, you can always email Relay Colorado team@tmobile.com. You can also reach me Katie Bishop, katie.bishop at tmobile.com. I'm sorry. And then we have our URL where you can find more detailed information at relaycolorado.com.
Thank you, Katie. So one question, so people need to register for all three of these services if they want to use them, or can they just dial 711 and start using them?
So correct. It's different for the different services. If you would like to have relay conference captioning, you do need to register. They prefer you register at least 48 hours in advance, just so that the captionist can have some preparation. With the other calls like speech to speech, you do not need to register. You can just dial 711 or the direct number for speech to speech. And then with the caption telephone, the customer would verify that they have a hearing loss and a need for the analog phone. And then that order would be placed, and that phone is in their home. So then that's just a direct connect when they would use that phone in replace of a typical phone.
So is there any third-party certification that's required for people to be able to use any of these services, or people just say, I qualify, and then they're accepted? How does that work?
For the equipment with the caption telephone, there is a verification process of being able to have a doctor's signature or a verification showing you have the hearing loss. And it doesn't have to be like a certain decibel loss, just showing that you have a loss and you have a need for the phone. When you pull up to register for relay conference captioning, it has statements of verification saying that you yourself have a hearing loss and have a need for this service, or you are registering for a relay conference captioning on behalf of somebody who needs the service.
Okay. And do you have a rough idea how many people are actually using these services today in Colorado?
It fluctuates so much because it really changes. I unfortunately do not have the data numbers on that.
Okay, no, I was just curious. Okay. Does if anybody else has a question, it's okay to ask right now if you'd like to do that. Just unmute yourself and speak. Okay. All right. Well, no further questions at this time anyway. So thank you, Katie. Our next speaker is Shirley Propey, who is the with the Audio Information Network and is their marketing coordinator. So after a 26-year corporate career came to an unexpected end in 2008, Shirley decided to make the next chapter of her life pursuing her passion. So Shirley then worked for 9 years as the program coordinator for a local nonprofit devoted to helping older adults who were blind or visually impaired to achieve more independence and a greater quality of life. When that nonprofit closed due to a lack of funding, it was a natural transition for Shirley to join the team at Audio Information Network, as she had been referring people to this important resource for many years. Shirley is thankful to be working for a truly wonderful organization providing a much needed service. And thank you for doing what you do, Shirley. So
thank you.
Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob and Barbara, for giving me this opportunity to talk about what we do. So thanks again for letting me talk about Audio Information Network of Colorado. We really are, our mission is to provide news and information in an audio format for anyone who has any kind of barrier to reading. We do serve all ages. We serve the whole state. And we're very, very focused on our mission. They were founded in 1990. It is a nonprofit, and we originally broadcast through Channel 6 KRMA. Rocky Mountain Public Broadcasting Service has been very generous with us. They donate bandwidth and transmitters so that we can broadcast our news and information all over the state. We do have 3 region-specific broadcasts, which is the Northern Front Range, which is the Denver Metro and beyond, Southern Colorado, Grand Junction, And then we also added Spanish speaking programming in 2014. We're a small nonprofit. We only have 9 staff members, but we do have over 100 volunteers that provide us with about 8,000 hours a year of volunteer time, which is huge. We couldn't do what we do without them. In 2021 and 2020, during the pandemic, we updated our software and hardware. We added some different ways to listen to our programming through Apple Play and Spotify platforms. We made a lot of changes during the pandemic to make it so that we could really serve our clientele. What our volunteers do is they read and record our programming. They do that in both English and Spanish. We have about 130 unique programs. And, originally our focus was strictly news and information. So originally we were reading just things like the Rocky Mountain News, the Denver Post, the little local newspapers, but we've really expanded what we do way beyond that now. We have a lot of health and wellness programs. We read a lot of the little local like senior living community newspapers. Just really have broadened what we offer to our clients. Our live broadcasts do run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As I said, we've got a growing number of podcasts that are available on demand. We do provide Echo Dots to our clients and radio receivers if that's the way they want to listen to us. And we're looking at a new program where we're going to get into hopefully giving out Echo shows, which allow people to just have a lot more options in how they use those devices. People can access us a lot of different ways because we do recognize that everybody has kind of, a different abilities, different ways that they are available to access programming. So they can access us through our website. They can access us with a smartphone, a smart speaker. We do have a toll-free telephone system that they can call in and access the on-demand podcasts and broadcasts. We do have digital receivers, which are kind of like a regular radio, but that radio is only tuned to our broadcast. So you turn it on and the only thing you're going to get is whatever's being broadcast out at that moment. And then as I said, we've expanded to Apple Play and Spotify so that people can access the podcasts that way. We don't really have any kind of qualification process. I mean, we just need individuals to declare to us what their need is. Is there reading barrier because of vision loss, or is it something like dyslexia, or is it a physical barrier? Do they have Parkinson's or arthritis or a stroke or something like that that's making it so that they just can't read print material? In 2021, we had about 2,000 registered listeners in the state of Colorado. We, during the pandemic, also developed a way so that we could actually track who is listening to us on podcasts. And we were very pleased to find out that we have about 34,000 unique podcast listeners who download our programs about 85,000 times, which is huge. The other thing that we were able to find out is that our listeners aren't just in Colorado. People are finding us not just all over the United States, but all over the world. We have listeners from all over the world, which we're very pleased about. It's very easy to sign up with us. You can go to our website and fill out a form there. It's very quick and easy. I've done it at resource fairs on my phone and sign people up in a couple of minutes. They can call in and sign up that way. They can just start listening to us, but we do ask that people register with us because it does clearly help us with asking for grant money and that kind of thing. And then we set up an appointment for a home visit. If they want an Echo Dot or the radio receiver, we can come and set it up for them. Clearly we can't go all over the state because we are kind of small, but we do have partners all over the state that can help. We find ways to work it out. During the pandemic when we couldn't go anywhere, Matt Cassane did a fabulous job working around the fact that we couldn't physically go into places. And then we do constantly, we're available to help clients use our system, our programs, everything about what we do. As I said, you know, we joke in our staff meetings, we're taking over the world. We do have listeners everywhere. And, you know, we do pride ourselves also on the fact that we are listener driven in our content. We survey our listeners all the time just to make sure that whatever programming we're providing is what people want. You know, it was really interesting to me during the pandemic, you know, we were really spending a lot of time and looking at what our programming was and who was listening to it and how it was being used. And one of the things that we offer is the old-fashioned call in and get time and temperature thing. And, you know, we're thinking, well, that's probably kind of archaic at this point. People, you know, don't need it. But then when we really started tracking it, we were getting thousands of hits on that service a week. So, you know, clearly there's still a need for it. So we still have it. This is just a look at, you know, what our website looks like. It's AINColorado spelled out .org. You can go on there and listen to what's on air now. You can go on there and listen to some of the podcasts. As I said, you know, you can sign up through there under the listen tab. Very easy to navigate. And then this just kind of shows some of our programming. You know, some of our most popular programs are things like the Denver Post and the little like county newspapers, the little local newspapers. But we also read like all the discount ads and the grocery ads and those kinds of things. And that's hugely popular with individuals, particularly I think these days when folks are really struggling with their finances. You know, it's good to know what's on sale so that they can save a little bit of money here and there. Whenever you're dealing with a nonprofit, I think it's really important to see how they spend their money and how we get our. We are a nonprofit, so we do fundraising. Also have the same phone bill funding resource that Katie was talking about earlier. So we do get some funding that way. But as you can see, you know, most of what we get, we put back into what we do. And I think that's really an important thing about who we are and what we do. As I said, it's super easy to get in touch with us, pick up the phone, call us, email us. We're there to serve people, and we're very, very proud to be able to do what we do. Does anybody have any questions for me?
This is Bob Rucker. I have a few.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So when you mentioned registering, you don't have to register just to listen. You have to register in order to get a device. Is that what I'm hearing?
Definitely, yes. So, you know, yeah, people, I mean, clearly people are listening to us without registering, and that's okay. I mean, we can, you know, get credit, I guess, for that. But when people register, then we really can fine tune why they're listening. Like, is it a vision loss? Is it physical? How old are they? That's important for grant reporting. And then if we are going to give them a device, we definitely need them to register because we keep track of the serial numbers on those devices and that kind of thing. Sure. So, you know, they don't really have to prove that they have a need, but, you know, we do ask what their need is.
And when you mentioned people listening from outside the state, including the world, why do you think that is? I mean, what drives that?
Well, I think, you know, I think for one thing, we do have podcasts that are unique to us. So, you know, one of our podcasts is an interview kind of podcast that is hosted by Penn Street, who's our director of outreach, and she does a lot of our fundraising. And Penn has been blind since she was 9 years old. She was bitten by a rattlesnake and lost her vision after that. very deeply connected in the Lions Club and different, different service organizations. She has a lot of contacts. She's a fabulous human. And her podcast is very, not just talking about the journey of vision loss and what that's like for people, but she interviews a lot of people with a lot of really inspiring stories, very compelling, and very inspiring. And, I think that really resonates with people. So, I think that's part of it, is that our content isn't just local news and information, although it is a free way to get the Denver Post, right? So that's an incentive there. I think there's a lot of reasons that's driving that, but we were shocked and very pleased to hear that we've got so many listeners all over.
Oh, I think it's very cool, actually. I was just curious. Yeah, that's great. You mentioned Echo Show. I'm not sure that everybody knows what that is. I don't. So.
Okay, yeah, and I'm right there with Katie. I'm not super tech. This is why I don't do the installations and things, because I am not a technology person myself either. But an Echo Show is like an Echo Dot. So it's like you're talking to, I won't name her name because she's in the other room and she's listening. But you ask the lady to play something and she plays it for you. With an Echo Show, you also have a screen so that you can do things like when you call your kids through that device, you can see them, right? So you can see things as well. And, people kind of go, well, it's kind of counterintuitive to what you do if you're serving people with vision loss. Well, not necessarily, because anyone who works in that realm of clientele understands that vision loss is very different for everyone. Just because somebody is considered legally blind doesn't mean that they can't see certain things. So, we just think that it's a way to enhance what we're giving people to access, because that's what we're all about, is giving people ways to be engaged and out there, just being a part of what's going on in the world.
So given what you just said about, the world and the number of people listening, so do you get donations from people outside the state of Colorado as well?
Yeah, and not a lot, but we do. And we, one of the other things that we did, we were very busy during the pandemic. We hired a part-time grant writer during that time, and he is young, and he's really thinking outside the box, and he's really going, you guys have kind of put yourself in this little box, and I don't think you belong there. I think you need to start looking at, expanding. And he was the one that came up with the idea of getting funding for the Echo Shows, because there is a need there. It's part of what we're doing, is opening up the world to people. So, he's really done a fabulous job of going out there and looking at funding sources that are outside of Colorado, because we're there. And, it's very interesting to me that different states are very, like, a lot of states have similar things to what we do, but a lot of states don't. And one of the dead zones is Wyoming. Wyoming has quite a few individuals that need these kinds of services, but they're not providing these services. So we're looking at expanding up to Wyoming. We're already working with a group of young people up there and saying, okay, what do you need? And then Brady is looking at, okay, how do we get funding to do this? So.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Shirley? Okay.
All right.
Seeing
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shirley. So seeing none, I'll move on to Lori. Lori Sporing is a patron services reader advisor librarian at Colorado Talking Book Library. They hold a Bachelor of Arts in English Writing from the University of Colorado, Denver, and a Master of Library Science from Emporia State University. They are a member of the Colorado Association of Libraries, the EDI Committee and Queer Interest Group, and serve on the Colorado State Library's Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion team. They are passionate about equitable information access and home renovation TV shows. Lori.
And sorry, my camera does this every once in a while where it decides it's not going to show me anymore. So I'm trying to get it to get itself back in. So in the meantime, I'll at least do a little introduction while it gets itself situated.
Okay.
As Bob said, I am a reader advisor librarian at Colorado Talking Book Library, which is located in Denver. We serve all of Colorado, every county. We have patrons in every single county, which is, I want to say we're over 6,000 patrons at this point, though we know there are more that qualify. And I can see Shirley nodding. We've also deal a lot with that Audio Information Network and refer frequently to that. I can almost see my camera working. Talking books are available to those with qualifying disabilities, which includes blindness, visual disabilities, any sort of physical disabilities that make it difficult to hold a standard book, trouble sitting up for periods of time, traumatic brain injuries such as stroke. These disabilities can be permanent or temporary, any sort of thing that makes it difficult to read standard print. We are part of the National Library Service for the Blind and Print Disabled, which is through the Library of Congress. So we are part of a federal program. We are also part of the Colorado State Library. So we are also funded in part with your tax dollars, as one of my coworkers likes to say that, you know, this is your tax dollars at work, make sure to actually use what is available to you. Our service is entirely free because it is your tax dollars. We also are very well assisted by our friends of the Colorado Talking Book Library. They're our volunteer arm of the institution, and we have a very robust volunteer group that provide us with hundreds of hours every month, helping us from everything from doing providing all of our materials to for welcome packets and things like that, helping us in the studio. We do some amount of our own recording, so we have our own recording studio, narrators that come in, just a really wonderful group of people that devote a ton of time and help us out and help raise lots of money to help keep us afloat. We do have applications both available on our website, and we can also mail them to any institution or person. They do need to be certified by a qualifying authority to confirm the disability, but we actually have a very nice number of qualifying authorities. You don't have to make sure you can get into an ophthalmologist for that. You can discuss it with a general practitioner, a therapist, physical therapist, in nursing homes, the professional staffs there can sign off. It's anyone who can confirm your disability, which really makes it a lot easier for some of our patrons who otherwise trying to get into a doctor in general is very hard. And then a very specific doctor just to say, yeah, you're blind, that they already are aware. And once we have the application, which is kind of gives you some subjects to choose from, so you can say what you're interested in, any sort of authors, we have a really big collection. It's mostly recreational reading, so a lot of fiction, do have a lot of nonfiction of just, things that anybody is interested in, we have available. And once you've gotten your application processed, it takes us just a couple of days, and we send everything through the US Postal Service. We don't have a traditional browsing library here. So we send either we provide, I have my examples here. For people who want audiobooks, we provide a player that they get to keep for the duration of the time they're a part of the program, just as you would loan a book. And all of our digital books come on in the mail in these clamshell containers on cartridges. And this one right now just has 5 books on it. They can contain up to, usually I think the max is about 25 books. So you have, it used to be that there was only 1 book per cartridge. Now we can put a bunch on here. They can be exactly what you want or subject matter. And our machines are fairly simple to use. Put it in there, big red button. Trying to put it so you can hear it. We have
Night Circus.
Current position.
The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern. Circus LLC.
It allows you to navigate between books on a tape.
Bookshelf 5. Books. Book 5.
The Night Circus.
4.
If I Was Your Girl.
Player off.
We do a majority of our books. Most of our patrons use our audiobooks. We also do provide a collection of large print that are locally owned, so they are in our library. All of our audiobooks are otherwise in the cloud as part of the National Library Service. We also do have Braille, because we do still have a lot of Braille readers, and they come in these nice big, very, very light, and that's our favorite thing to show off, is how light these are. If you've ever held a Braille book, you're really shocked considering the size of it. All of our things come through the U.S. Postal Service. As you saw, the audiobooks come in the clamshells. All of our Braille books come almost in little suitcases, and our large print come in baggies. I know we have patrons who get very nervous about putting it back in the mail. We've been doing this for many, many years, and we actually have very little that goes missing. So it's actually a pretty reliable service. Even with some of the mail issues, we do send thousands of pieces of mail every single month and reach out everybody fairly quickly. We also do have a mobile service for people who are a little more tech savvy, but you do not need to be tech savvy, nor do you even need to own a computer to have our service. You can always call us. We have 4 reader advisors. We're all librarians. We can find books that any patron's interested in and put it in their account. Unlike a traditional library, we do track what you read just for the sake of making it easier for patrons to find books. We have a computer that will pick out from subject matter that you're interested in. And if we didn't track it, it would just keep sending you the same book over and over again. So we make available on our mobile service the same books that you can get on a tape, but it's automatic download. We don't have wait times and wait lists like at a traditional library if you're using Libby or Overdrive, which is really nice because we have a deal with several publishers, so that allows us to work around copyright, which is why we have to certify disabilities, is because we are allowed to give these books to people without having to pay copyright issues with that. We have a broad variety of things that cover any subject you can think of, and we're able to tweak any account. People can call us Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. We'll pick up the phone. We can walk you through how to get your books on your tape, how to work your tape player, find a book that you heard about on NPR, anything like that. We're happy to help. No late fees. You can keep your digital books as long as you want. You have a max of 5 cartridges, but if you fill it up to the max, you've got a couple hundred, got 100 books sitting there without having to send them back, stack them up. You have a nice little stack and you can listen to them as many times as you want. Drop them in the mail when you're done. We send you another one as soon as it hits here. Our mailroom is super fast. We have the fastest mail operator on earth, I like to call her. She's amazing. I cover for her and I am like a quarter her speed, if that, on a good day. We also do have magazine subscriptions for certain publications. They don't come from our library specifically. They come from a contractor through National Library Service, and those have due dates and kind of let people know when those need to come back. The Braille and large print does have due dates just because that is physical, and one copy is one copy, but they're available for 2 months from the time they hit the person's porch because of time for mailing, and then they can renew it for up to a month. And because there's no late fees, we're not going to come after people and punish them for not turning something in. And as has been found in a lot of studies more recently, when libraries have gone fee-free, it doesn't cause an impact on people returning items. The people who are not going to return items are still not going to return them on time, and people who return things on time will still turn them in on time, even without threat of fines and chidings from librarians. I think that covers most sort of things. Is there any sort of clarifications or anything? I know I talk kind of fast sometimes.
This is Bob. We do have a couple of questions in the chat, and then I have a couple as well. So Barbara's asking, are you still producing the Blue Book of information for elections?
Yes, we do. Every single Blue Book is recorded here in-house and available on request by any of our patrons. They just give us a call and we get a cartridge out to them so they can review all of the ballot measures and everything every election.
Okay, and do you do kids books?
We do have some kids books that we serve. I think our youngest patron is, I think we said it was like 3 or 4 years old. We've had patrons who've started as kids and keep going with us for years. We do have a pretty good selection of large print kids books and Braille kids books, and a fairly nice digital collection as well. Anybody can request any of those books. We don't require adults to stay in the adult section. They can request, children's books. We have a lot of people who want to learn Braille who actually order like a Dr. Seuss because they know the story and it helps them learn Braille, since a lot of our patrons lost their vision older. They never learned Braille. And so we would want to be part of that. And so we do have kids books and YA, pretty much anything you can think of it from a standard library we're going to have.
Okay. And then question on, you mentioned the National Library Service. So does the National Library Service then, do they record the books and then,
A little of, I'm sorry, go on.
And then make them available to you, or I mean, how does that work actually?
It's a little of everything. The National Library Service does record a certain number of books. They also get licensed from some publishers for the audiobooks that have been produced by, like Random House and things. And those are just adapted for our needs because we have certain markers and things within it to help the machines work and help our patrons find their way through a book. We also do a certain amount of recording here in our own studio. Each library, each state has a talking book library, and they'll do their own in-house recording, usually of books about their own state or written by their authors in their state. So we do a lot of recording of books about Colorado and Colorado authors. So it's a little bit of everything, of different recordings.
Okay. And you mentioned funding a little bit earlier. You're a part of the state government. I mean, you're under the education department, correct?
Yeah, the Department of Education, yeah.
So does all your funding come from the state budget, or do you also get funding from other sources?
We since we're part of the National Library Service and Library of Congress, we get funding from that. We get a certain amount of money from the state since we are under the Department of Education, and we fall in some parameters under public library. And then we also, as a nonprofit, have our volunteer in Friends of Arena. So funding from several sources in order to keep us going.
Well, I want to thank all of you for joining this morning, and I've put all of the contact information is in the chat for all three of our panelists and for Barbara and myself. We just have another note that popped up in the chat. Colorado Gerontological Society has hearing and vision grants, and there's the phone number for that. And they do have a wait list, and be on the list sooner rather than later. And you can also obtain vision and glasses or hearing aids through CGS. So thanks for that comment. Bernadette, one other thing I've been reminded to mention is our next webinar is on April 6th. And that one is titled the other AAAs, which are the area agencies on aging. So for all the folks that you know who may not know there is a different AAA besides the one that starts your car when you can't start it, that's what that one is all about. We're going to be talking about what the area agencies on aging do and why they exist, and hope that you all can join us, or let your friends and neighbors know so that they can join us. Okay. Well, I'll check this chat one more time, make sure I haven't missed something. Oh yes, and then we have the next one after the AAA is we're going to focus on some spring cleaning and hoarding issues. So we have a couple of folks who deal with those things on a regular basis, and they're going to provide some advice about how to get rid of stuff that you no longer use. So, which is a big issue for many of us, including yours truly. So with that, I think we're finished. So you all have a great day, and I see it's snowing harder again, so get out your snow shovels and your boots and have a good day. Thank you again.